Here's our week 8 checklist. We have a 10 class view recording. Complete the library quiz found in the week 8 folder. That's actually not there yet, but it will be shortly. This particular quiz is not timed, must be submitted by noon on Monday, so you do have a quiz this week. You have a brief section in your textbook to read and annotate for developing a research plan. You need to complete your preliminary research for your research paper, submit your program of study, research question, and tentative thesis to the Dropbox in the week 8 folder, due by Monday at noon. So you have a quiz, and you have that. I don't even want to call it a writing assignment because it's not really a writing assignment, but you have that assignment as well. And you should complete research to find acceptable required sources, create a basic outline for your research paper, and begin writing the first draft of your research paper, which will be due next Monday. Not this coming Monday, but the Monday after that, 3/17. So you've got 2 weeks to write the first draft of your research paper. So that's what we're starting on today. This is our next challenge, right? We got over the anecdote assignment, through with the persuasive essay, so now we're on to the research paper, all right? And I'm going to go through the instructions for the research paper, and then our library specialist will be coming down to give you an orientation for the library, showing you how to use the different databases that are available through the library, and basically how to find the sources you need to complete your research paper. All right, so I'm going to go over the instructions for the research paper, and then for the remainder of the class, I will turn it over to Catherine Stummy, who's going to come down here and present to you. The quiz, the library quiz, is based on the information that Catherine is going to present to you tonight. Okay, so I would recommend taking some notes on what she tells you about the different databases and the functions of the library. The quiz is part of a class grade. It fits in that quiz category for you as a quiz grade, so make sure you take it seriously. It is not timed, so it's a little bit different than the other ones, but you can use any notes that you take in this class. Any questions on what we're doing this week? No? Okay. Good question. Great question. Okay, so you do need to submit your program of study, research question, and tentative thesis. So in the week 8 folder, there's a Dropbox. This is different from the Turnitin Dropboxes. This is called an Angel Dropbox. So basically, if you click on this, and I can't do it from a student view right now. Maybe I can. Okay, good. So from your view, it should look similar to this. And what I ask you to do is to type your program of study, research question, and tentative thesis statement into the text box. So I'm not asking you to upload an attachment. You just have to type it in here. So program research question and thesis. So you just type those 3 things in the text box. You can title it just with your name if you want to. That would be fine. I'm going to get there. When I go over the research paper, we'll talk about that. For this, no minimum. Just as long as you include those 3 pieces of information. Oh, for the research paper? I'll get there in just a second. We'll go there right now. If you go to lessons, there's a new folder in lessons called Research Paper Resources. All right, this was just added today. So we have research paper guidelines and instructions that should hopefully answer your question about length. 10 steps for completing a research paper. For your research paper. Now, for week 8, it said create an outline, but it did not say submit an outline. So I'm asking you to create it, but you don't have to submit it. That's not really an excuse to not do it. Having some type, no matter how bare bones it is, you should have something. And this is a planner that can help you with that. There's a checklist, which we'll go over probably next week or the week after. There's a good website here for MLA documentation. There's a good document for integrating quotations into writing, which you need to do with your research paper. And then there are some sample papers, which we're going to go over as a class probably next week. But let's start with the paper. Yes. Can y'all see that okay? All right, here are the guidelines for the research paper. Your topic. It says when people conduct research, it's almost always with the goal of answering a specific question or questions, like how can cancer be cured, or what is the safest way to send a space shuttle to Mars, or when did the dinosaurs go extinct? These are all questions that can be best answered through research. All right, because this particular assignment is designed to improve your marketability and expertise in your chosen program, you must settle on a specific question that interests you and is directly related to your area of study at Linear Tech. I'm not giving you random research topics. I don't think that's going to benefit you as much as allowing you to choose something within your field of study. Hopefully you've chosen your field of study. Or if you I want you to choose a topic that's related to whatever you plan on studying in the future. Okay, but I'm not just giving you random research topics because I think this is a lot more beneficial to do it this way. And when I say it will improve your marketability, hopefully that's usually the reason that people take classes here anyway. They're trying to improve their marketability. They're trying to, get a better job or a new job, enter into a new field or something like that. Make themselves a more attractive candidate to whatever profession they're going into. So hopefully this will allow you to increase your marketability and your expertise in whatever field you're studying. All right, so the question is the topic for your research paper. Whatever question you come up with related to your program is your topic. But that question, it can be related to a new technology. Like, for example, if you are in IT or networking, maybe a topic question could be, are cloud servers better than physical servers? Right, that's a question to start with. You could also base your question on a new technique, a method, or a procedure. So if you were studying criminal justice, maybe your question could be, should police and law enforcement be allowed to use pepper spray and non-lethal weapons on non-violent protesters? Okay, it's happened recently in the past couple of years. Police have, I don't want to say been caught, but police have been using pepper spray on non-violent protesters. So is that something they should be, or should they have to do something different? But that could be a method, right, or a technique that the police officers are using. So any field that you study is going to have its own techniques and methods and procedures. So think about those. Are there any controversial ones? Controversial issues or problems in your field. Like in the medical field, you could whether or not should be required for women seeking abortions. That's a controversial issue in the news right now. All right, so just some example questions that could get you started. No, you can't use any of these specific examples on my instruction sheet. All right, you may not. So that's what I want you to do when you're developing your questions, but you may not do a general research paper on your field or a position in your field. All right, it can't be general because of the length requirements. Questions like what does a radiologist do, or what does a police officer do, or what is computer networking, those are far too broad for a short research paper. They're not really going to increase your expertise in the area. All right, a job description will usually tell you that. So if you want to be an expert in something, usually you have to get a little bit specific. All right, if you are if you are unsure of what topic question to select, or if you need assistance in narrowing a broad topic, first do some preliminary research using the library databases. After tonight, you should be comfortable and familiar with the library databases. There are also books in the library called Taking Sides books. Those have some good issues related to different programs of study. And there are also e-books that are accessible through the library that you can use. It says simply looking at the table of contents in these sources should give you some ideas. Right? Give you some ideas of what's going on that you're studying. If you're still stuck, you can ask instructors for your program to help you identify a topic question that will benefit you upon completion of the program. If, for instance, you're radiology as your program, but you haven't taken a radiology class, this is a good chance to get in touch with the instructor for the program. All right, it's a good chance to talk to him or her and see, what kind of issues you can study, what might help you as you proceed with your education and your career. All right, so even if you haven't had any of these instructors, they are still usually very willing to help you out if you need it. Students enrolled in a general education program, dual enrollment, or technical specialist certificate. They must choose a topic question related to the degree or career they will pursue after completion of their program at Linear Tech. Any questions so far about selecting a topic? Does anybody have a topic in mind? Maybe? Okay. You can always run them by me.
I'm not sure what I should focus on.
This,
Like Apple laptops and things like that. Is that what you're talking about? I can focus on Apple?
it could be. It could be. This is a good chance to explore different areas within your program. So what kind of issues are out there? Like for computers, like the question I have here on cloud servers, are they better than physical servers? So, you know, you could say, are Apple laptops better than other PCs? That could be an issue, but it doesn't have to. And you can run your topics or your questions by me. You can send me an email and ask if it seems appropriate, if it seems narrow enough, and I'll try to give you some direction if you need it. All right, on to the thesis. The thesis statement for your research paper. Remember, this is going to be an expository piece of writing. Even though it's a research paper, that doesn't mean it's not expository. Expository means that it has a thesis statement with a subject and an opinion, and it is somewhat persuasive in nature. All right, so when you're answering a question, if you're starting with a research question, your paper is automatically persuasive, right? If your research question is, should police be able to use pepper spray on nonviolent protesters? And you say, yes, police should be able to use pepper spray on nonviolent protesters. Well, guess what? It's your job now to persuade me as the audience, as the reader, that your opinion is valid. Does that make sense? So if you start with a question, your thesis statement is the answer to the question, and it's automatically persuasive. Does that make sense? If you have a question that leads to some kind of answer that doesn't need an opinion, you don't have a thesis statement. You don't have a persuasive research paper. Does that make sense? So your question can't be, did police use pepper spray at the University of California in 2011? That's a yes or no question, right? There's not a whole lot of persuading to be done there. All right, so make sure you end up with something that's persuasive in nature. So it says the thesis statement for your research paper is the answer to your topic question. This automatically makes this a persuasive research paper since you must convince the reader. All right, here are some basic guidelines. Please, please, please include your field of study next to your name in the heading. People always forget to do that for some reason, and then I never know if the topic that you selected is related to your program. It makes me have to do a lot of extra work to find out what everybody's program is. So next to your name, please put the program of study. All right, style, MLA style, just like your other papers for this class. Additional factors, report is to be double-spaced, as always, that's per MLA. Length, so you asked word count. I don't have a word count for you, but I have 3 full pages to 4 full pages. All right, everyone should be using 12-point font, so the word count should be similar. So 3 full pages to 4 full pages, not including the works cited page. No cover sheet or title sheet is required. It's an academic paper, which means it's typically most effective to rely on third-person language throughout. I'm assuming that most of you will not be credible experts in your field, which is why you're going to be relying on outside sources to establish your credibility or your ethos. First and second person language are not recommended for this particular paper. All right, sources. You must incorporate 3 outside sources, 2 scholarly sources and 1 credible web source. And we're going to talk about what the difference between the two would be. All right, so scholarly sources are journal articles, online or print, and nonfiction books, ebooks or print. That's it. Those are your scholarly sources. Journal articles or nonfiction books. Therefore, the newspaper article from Room for Debate that you probably used in your persuasive essay, that would not be considered scholarly. Okay, that would not be considered a scholarly source. Now notice it says you need 2 scholarly and 1 credible web source. So an article from the New York Times might be a credible web source, but it's not scholarly. Or journal articles from the library databases. And there's a difference between journal articles and newspaper articles. All right, major difference. All right, journals are usually peer-reviewed documents. They're more academic and scholarly in nature. Okay. I find that students have more luck with the ebooks or the nonfiction books. A textbook actually counts as a scholarly source for this particular assignment. So if you were studying, I don't know, radiology, and you have a radiology textbook, that's a nonfiction book. That could work as one of your scholarly sources. Okay, but the ebooks available through the library are also very helpful. And how many do we have now? Over 100,000. All right, so I bet you could probably find something in an ebook. They seem to be easier to use than the journal articles. Journal articles are like looking for a needle in a haystack. And it's actually like looking for a needle in a haystack in a field full of haystacks. It's like each database could be considered a haystack, and then you're looking for, there are multiple databases. E-books are sometimes a lot easier to use. Browse the table of contents of an e-book relatively easily. You can search program, what kind of e-books are available. So really specific, that's directly related to your research question and your thesis statement, you might be able to find that perfect journal article that's already attempted to answer your research question or did answer your research question. But sometimes the ebooks are better at just providing broader information that can relate to your topic question or your thesis statement. So it doesn't matter to me which one you use, but I do find that the ebooks seem to be a little bit easier for students. It says, do not use outdated sources for a current topic unless you're providing some sort of vital historical background. So if you're writing about technology or computers, it's probably not very helpful to have a source from 2009, right? Because computers evolve so quickly, right? Same thing with medical technology, sciences, they evolve so quickly that sources from 6 years ago are usually outdated. Find your scholarly sources through the library databases, which may be accessed from home via the Linear Tech webpage. You may incorporate no more than 3 scholarly sources and 2 credible web sources. So a minimum of 3, a maximum of 5. Minimum of 3, maximum of 5 total sources. Minimum 2 scholarly, maximum 3 scholarly. Minimum 1 credible web, maximum 2 credible web sources. All sources may be incorporated into the paper multiple times. Okay, so you could have 5 sources, but you could have used them 15 times throughout the paper, potentially. Papers that solely use websites, even credible ones, will not receive passing scores because I want to see that you have the ability to do scholarly research. Wikipedia, blogs, and .com sites are typically not credible sources for this assignment. There may be some blogs out there that could be considered credible, but just be careful. Make sure you research who the person is that's writing it. Who they're endorsed by, if anyone. That's usually very important. And there are also some .com sites that are credible, like NewYorkTimes.com is considered credible. But just be very careful with those. If you want to be safe, usually .org, .gov, and .edu sites are credible. I guess be more careful with the .org because anybody can get those. But the .gov and .edu are a little tougher for people to get. You can see your textbook for more information on credible sources. All right, there's some information on incorporating. It basically says the entire journal article or book that you select doesn't have to be exactly related to your thesis, as long as there's at least one small portion from there that does work with your thesis statement. So the entirety of the source doesn't have to completely support your thesis. You just have to find the information that does fit. It says do not use standalone quotations. Use signal phrases to help introduce your direct quotations. That's the same thing as the persuasive essay that you just submitted or that you will submit by Wednesday. All right, in order to receive a passing grade for this assignment, outside sources cannot comprise more than 40% of the paper. That's the same as the persuasive essay. Documentation is all the same as the persuasive essay. Same rules apply. And the rest of this is all about documentation. Any questions about the research paper? What does it do? Do I have the final draft due date or the revised draft due date on your schedule there? 17th. All right, you're doing your peer edit that following week from the 17th to the 24th. Week 10 is when you're doing the peer edit for this. So the final draft will be due on the 24th, the following week. Same process as we did for the persuasive essay. Any questions at all about the research paper? Y'all excited? This is your program of study, right? This is your field of study.
Actually, I am not.
You should be. You should be excited to learn something that could potentially help you. You know, if you can go into a job interview for what field are you in? Industrial systems. If you can go into that interview and say, hey, I actually studied solar technology and wrote a lengthy research paper or a short research paper about solar technology. So if you're ever interested in transitioning from your current systems into solar, I might be able to help. They'll think, wow, this guy has some value, right? This guy has something that the other candidate might not have. Does that make sense? So this is your chance to make yourself more marketable, more valuable to an employer. That's the goal here. Of course, I'm also trying to teach you and assess your ability to research and to write, but be selfish, right? I want you to be selfish with this and learn something that's going to be of value to you somehow. Any other questions at all? Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Miss Summy, who's going to introduce you to the library services. I'll hand those out for you.
My name is Catherine Summy. I am the Director of Library Services for Lanier Technical College. I oversee all 5 campus libraries, and I'm the primary librarian here at Oakwood. So today I'm going to talk about some of the library physical resources, as well as our online resources, predominantly Galileo. Everybody should be getting, as Mr. Palmer passes it out, the Galileo password for this semester. To get onto Galileo from off campus, you need this password, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but keep that paper.
Can you spell it out for
Yeah.
the
Oh,
recording?
yes, yeah. Okay. So, how many of you all have been to the Oakwood Library? A few people? Just one person? A couple people? Okay. For those of you who haven't, the library is upstairs, building 300, we're room 350. It's down the hall. We're open Monday through Thursday from 7:30 in the morning until 9 o'clock. There is a librarian on staff from 8:30 to 9 o'clock at night. So if you guys have research questions and want to talk to a librarian, basically 1 hour of the day is the only time you can. We have 25 computers. We have wireless access, and we also have free printing up to 20 pages a day. After that, it's 5 cents per page. Any questions about the physical space of the library for the few people? It's quiet. It's got big group tables. Okay. All right. Real quick, I'm going to click on resources, and you can see here, right, this is how you get to the library's webpage. All of the online resources that we showed you today are going to be available on this webpage. Okay. About that Galileo password, before we go any further, the password for the Galileo this semester is Jetty, Jetty. It's all lowercase. It has to be entered each time you access Galileo from home. Do not save the password. Galileo doesn't like that, okay? If your computer prompts you to do it, don't do it. It changes every semester. This one is good until May 20th. After that, it'll be a new password. Here's the thing. If you forget the password, if you lose the slip of paper, you don't go back and listen to this, even though it's like the first 5 minutes of this presentation, you can email me. Now, key point, email. I cannot give this password out over the phone, but my email is right here on the right-hand side, Catherine Summy. It's ksummy@laniertech.edu, right here. What I need is your name, your student ID number, and either the class that you're enrolled in or your major, either one. If you email me during business hours, which are, for me is 8:30 to 7, I will answer you immediately. I usually stop whatever I'm doing and answer if I'm sitting in front of my desk. If you email me at 2 a.m. on Saturday, I don't answer my email. I have a weekend just like you guys do, so just kind of keep that in mind that if you know the paper coming up and it's due, email me beforehand. Like I said, I respond promptly, very, very promptly. But just kind of keep that in mind. Any questions about that? Okay. If you get I'm not in my office message, the other librarian is Min Sue at the Forsyth campus. You can always email her. So, okay. All right. All right, so first off that I'm going to start with, I'm not going to talk about a library resource. I am going to talk about Wikipedia. How many of you all use Wikipedia? Nobody? Come on. You try not to, but come on. When you do basic internet searches, who goes to Wikipedia? I do. I'm a librarian. Okay, thank you. A little bit of honesty there. All right. I do want to talk, though, real quick. Mr. Palmer touched on it, why you guys can't use Wikipedia, but I think it's important to know exactly the reasons behind it. He says, why can't you use it? This is the entry for capital punishment. Is there any criminal justice majors? No. Good topic, then. You guys won't be able to do these searches. As you all know, capital punishment is the death penalty. Very controversial issue on many levels. So if you were going to do a kind of a pro-con about capital punishment, this is actually a pretty well-researched entry. You guys can see it's very extensive. It has pretty in-depth resources here, references, things from the BBC News, human rights organizations, ACLU, etc. But can anybody tell me why we don't use Wikipedia? It can be changed. Who can change it? Anybody. Literally anybody. So I could actually click on the upper top here. It says View Source. I can click on this. And it says here that it's protected because it's a pretty heavily edited entry. But I could delete this right here and now in front of you all. I won't because I'm a nice person. But you have no idea who I am if I made any edits. You don't know if I'm an expert or if I'm somebody just sitting in my basement and want to put my opinion on capital punishment. Much everybody in this room is not an expert at something. So you can't trust whoever's making edits. And you can see here, if you view history on these entries, you can see how many people make edits. So just in February alone, like the 21st of February, Sky Deep Blue, whoever that person is, and we have no idea, was making a ton of edits. And you can kind of see here. So any questions about why we don't use Wikipedia? No. Okay. You guys all kind of laugh at me for that. I get it. Somebody will use Wikipedia in this room. It will happen. I promise. Okay. So we're going to talk about the actual library resources, the things that you can use in your paper. First off, on the left-hand side, underneath here, I want to talk about library catalog. If you click on that, this actually brings up the print material that the library has, as well as our ebook collection and some of our video collection. And we'll talk about that more in depth, but right now I just want to focus on the print collection. You can actually type in a topic, or the one that I'm going to show you is a series called Opposing Viewpoints. So you can either type in a subject or a title if you know one. You can hit enter. And this brings up the book collection that we have here in the library. So you can see here that Opposing Viewpoints, does anybody know what that series is or has ever heard it? Okay. Opposing Viewpoints is really awesome. It's books about topics that have pro-con essays about various subjects within a general topic. So for example, we have this one here about alternative medicine. Anybody allied health here? No? What are you guys majors? Nothing?
Industrial systems.
Okay, there's that. We don't have an Opposing Viewpoints for that one, but you can look around.
But you got marijuana on there.
We have medical marijuana. Yep, Opposing Viewpoints. Is anybody cosmetology or esthetician? No? Okay. We have one about beauty, the culture of beauty, gun control, inflation, outsourcing, racial profiling. It goes on and on, criminal justice. These are all books that are available for you to check out if you want. And you can see here that they're all mostly available. Let's look at the alternative medicine. You'll notice that it says one available in all locations. If you click View All Locations, that shows you what campus the book is located at. Now, I said I am in charge of all 5 campuses, which means that all 5 campuses are located in this catalog. So you may see books that are at the Forsyth campus, the White campus, etc. All of those, you just have to send me an email, ksummy@lineartech.edu, and say, hey, Catherine, I really want this book. Can you get it for me? And I can. It takes about, depends on when you ask, but usually they come in on Tuesdays. So if you want to check out a book, all you need is your student ID card and come to the front desk with the book. You get it for 2 weeks at a time. If you need it for longer than 6 weeks, let us know. So we'll have to make some exceptions. Any questions about checking physical books out? Okay. All right, so that's for physical books. The next place that I want to go to is underneath library guides. You'll see Start Your Research here. I'm going to click on that. We'll kind of move on to the electronic resources. These are all of our online resources for the most part in alphabetical order. The one that I want to talk about first is the Encyclopedia Britannica. If I click on that, you'll notice on this list, anything with a red asterisk indicates that it needs the Galileo password. So if you click on it from home, it'll prompt you for the Galileo password. Here, it's seamless. It recognizes our IP addresses. Any questions so far? You guys are very, very quiet. That's okay. Okay. Encyclopedia Britannica. But while it's loading here, how many of you all have ever used the print version of Encyclopedia Britannica, like 20 plus volumes? Okay, a few people raise their hands. It's no longer in print. Now is the digital version. This is the basic same thing. Britannica is good for background information, for topic exploration. Maybe you're not 100% sure what you want to do. But you can sit there, you can do a basic search for a term. We're going to keep searching for capital punishment. And you can actually see here the results. The featured result is the one that matches exactly with your term. There's an entry. So for example, capital punishment has its own entry. But you'll notice there are more results that may mention capital punishment. For example, beheading is a form of capital punishment in some countries, etc. So you can kind of explore, see what's out there, see what term you're maybe looking for, what it's connected to. But I'm going to click on capital punishment. Okay. So you'll see here, it's basic background information. Everything that has a blue link leads to another entry. Now, the reason we use this over something like Wikipedia is I can click on contributors over here on the for you guys, and you'll notice I'll see primary contributor. Everybody see that? If I click on Roger Hood, I can see that he's a professor of criminology at the University of Oxford. You don't get much more of an expert than that. One of the best universities in the world. So obviously a little bit better than whoever was editing that Wikipedia entry. We can also see the article history and note that it's not changed very often. I think the last time this one was changed was 2013. So you're not going to get the most current, like if you looked at the Ukraine right now, you probably wouldn't get like what's happening right this minute. Background information about a topic that you can explore that is going to be there the next time you look at it. It's not going to change like a Wikipedia entry. Any questions about this? Okay. A couple other things about this. You also notice there are images if you ever need to do presentations. You're able to use those. The other big thing, at the bottom of this entry, we're going to talk about citations. How many of you all struggle with citations? Good. Everybody raises their hand. I struggled with citations as a student. I'm with you. I understand. Databases understand. So this is Encyclopedia Britannica's version of the MLA citation for this page. Does everybody see this at the bottom here, right? You can use this as a guide for your works cited page. Now notice I said guide, okay? 9 times out of 10 these are correct. They have all the relevant information that you need for your citations. That being said, I have seen ones that are wrong. So what you need to do, you can copy this and use it as a guide, but also check your sources, your MLA guidebooks, Purdue OWL. We have the handbook in the library at all times. Don't assume this is correct, but you can use it as at least a basic guideline, at least a start. So any questions about citations? They're pretty much giving them to you. I'm going to show you that at every step, so you guys will know every database that has these, okay? All right, any questions about Encyclopedia Britannica? No, okay. All right, above search here is library guides. Does everyone see that? You're going to click on that. Library guides is kind of our one-stop shop for your courses. So right now you can see, you can click on the English 1101. A lot of the resources I'm going to talk about are in this guide. So you guys, everything I talk about, if you need to find the links for them again, are going to be here. The only exception is Encyclopedia Britannica. It has little links here for books, kind of a little explanation. There's the Linear Tech catalog. We'll talk about the ebooks. Articles, we're going to get more in depth with Galileo, but a couple of other databases here that we're going to talk about. Web resources. Remember, we talked about Wikipedia. We don't use that. Mr. Palmer mentioned domain names. This is your, if you forget what that means, down here. What are most appropriate for academic research? .edu, where it's at. Right? .org, I would be a little suspicious of. I would definitely stay away from .com, unless, like Mr. Palmer said, Times, which obviously everybody knows what the New York Times is. Any questions about that? And you can see here we have US Gov, little tips for what you're evaluating, etc. Writing and citing. I'm not going to go over this too much, but I want to let you all know that the library is available to help you with citations. We have a little bit here about when should I cite, what is plagiarism, and some of the writing and citing guides. So like Purdue OWL, some of the books that we have available in the library, etc. All right, any questions about that? Okay, remember this is your one-stop shop, library guides, okay? All right, the next database that I want to go to is Credo Reference. And if you guys don't mind, I have a cold, so I'm drinking water here. Okay, how many of you all have used Credo Reference? Anybody? Okay. Credo Reference is another background database. It's a collection of encyclopedias, dictionaries, thesauruses, etc. It's an excellent resource for finding a topic. One of the things, you can search for something if you'd like. You can do a basic search. Or the feature that I like to use is up on the top of the search bar, you guys will see this Find Topic Pages. It's the second option. By clicking on that, it brings up the over 10,000 topic pages that Credo Reference has put together. And you can actually click on any of these. Let's see, we could do Hank Aaron. How many Braves fans do we have? Any? Maybe? Okay, yay, that's good. All right, so everybody knows who Hank Aaron is. Baseball player, set the record for home runs all time. So you guys can see here, this is what a topic page looks like. What it does is it gives you a basic explanation of who this person is or what the topic might be. So you can also do medical topics, etc. Down below is your citation, right here. Okay? Again, your guide. Don't assume that it's correct. Over here, under, you guys will see create a mind map for Hank Aaron. The mind map, I'm not going to click on it on this computer because it doesn't have the capabilities to run it. But the mind map is an excellent way to kind of explore what other topics might be connected to your particular topic page. So you can see here, it kind of looks like a topic map. So you can click on one, it has yours in dark blue, and you can see which other ones are available. And you can see here related topics that might interest you as well. So let's say you don't want to do Hank Aaron topic, but you could look at Jackie Robinson, the man to break the color barrier. There's some.
Say you want to do industrial systems. Does that have industrial systems or anything related?
It does, possibly, like solar energy maybe. Would that, no? What would be in industrial systems?
Like pneumatics, fluid power.
Hydraulics? I bet you it has hydraulics.
Motors.
Oh, yeah, guys.
Motors.
Let's do hydro first. Let's see here. Actually, no. Let's see. Motor controls, maybe? Air conditioning. All right, here's one. Air conditioning. Would that work, air conditioning? As an example?
Not for me.
Okay, well, we can look at industrial systems. But like, all right, I'll show you. This is air conditioning. We'll use this as an example. Okay, we have thermodynamics, refrigeration, global warming, temperature. Those are ventilation are some of the other ones that are connected to air conditioning. We have some images here. The big thing about topic pages as we scroll down is you'll notice that we have some articles that are potentially about this topic. Not necessarily the best. I would rather go through Galileo, but there are a possibility of kind of like learning more of what's available. So for air conditioning, for example, in the book collection, up comes a book about green energy and clean energy. Probably has something to do with how to make your air conditioning units more clean, more green friendly. And so you can kind of see here, I mean, there's one about adaptive thermal comfort model for air conditioning hospitals in Malaysia. Those articles exist out there. Again, this is a way to kind of explore what's out there, okay? Just to kind of look around and see. It's kind of a hit or miss thing, but it's definitely, if you're really stuck on what to do as a topic, I would find a generic topic page about what your general field is, like air conditioning, and kind of go from here and start seeing what might be interesting to you, okay? Does everybody kind of see where you would use this? No, maybe.
Maybe, I don't know if you have subjects that's on the bottom.
Okay, what was the other ones? Let's see.
Motor controls, motor drives, PLCs,
Let's see.
those are something that I've used for right now.
I know we have a lot of print material about like motor controls and all of that. Motors. So these are stepping motors. These are from Encyclopedia Britannica, a couple, McGraw-Hill. So we could see here. Let's see what else would be in topic pages. So you can kind of see some of the options that come up for industrial systems, expert systems, industrial ecology, industrial engineering, industrial districts. So it's out there. It's out there. I promise. If there's something you're interested in, I can help find it. So, okay. All right, so we don't take all day. I'm going to move on from Credo. Go back to the library guide. Oh, actually, real quick. I'm going to talk very, very, very quickly about Films on Demand. Has anybody used Films on Demand or seen Films on Demand? No? Okay. Films on Demand is available through Galileo, but you can also click this image right here. This takes you to the website. Films on Demand is basically what I like to call the academic version of YouTube. It has academic content in a video format. You would want to double check with Mr. Palmer, but most instructors are okay using this as an academic source. But you can see here up on the top in the navigation, you can either search for a particular topic or you can look in particular sections. So for example, technical and trade, biology, business and economics. You can also see featured producers. So this is the content production. These things are, for example, from Nova, BBC, American, ABC News, Frontline, etc. Modern Marvels, so for someone trying to maybe do industrial, you can see what's available in the Modern Marvels collection, which is typically trade and industry. And you can kind of see what those available are. So there's a whole lot. Containers, glue, hydraulics, Modern Marvel hydraulics right there. So you can click on that and kind of see what available videos there are. And you can see here, this is actually a 45-minute video on hydraulics. So, and you can break it down into little sections, and you can also see the transcript, so you can read along. And then again, we always talk about citation. It's right underneath the video in MLA format. Check with Mr. Palmer about whether he would allow this, but it is an excellent resource for other areas of interest. So, any questions about Films on Demand? Okay. I was very, very quick. I just wanted to go really quickly through that. All right. The big one. The one that all of you probably need to wake up for. We're going to talk about Galileo. When you click on the LibGuide for 11.1, it brings you immediately to the home page. You'll notice Galileo is smack dab in the middle. That's because everything that you're going to need is in Galileo. So if you click on Galileo, it takes you to the home page. How many of you all have used Galileo? How many of you all struggled with Galileo? No, everybody found everything they needed. Okay. Well, we'll talk a little bit about how to do a search in Galileo, how to make it exactly what you are wanting. We'll talk about limits. We'll also talk about our ebook collection, which is predominantly found in Galileo. First off, up in the upper right-hand corner, you guys will see this little About Galileo. Allow me to just talk for a brief minute. Galileo stands for Georgia Library Learning Online. It's an initiative of the Georgia Regents and the University System of Georgia. Galileo has over 100 databases, 10,000 full-text journals, encyclopedias, business directories. You name it, Galileo has it. Galileo is a more powerful search engine than Google. I know a lot of you won't believe that, but I can do a search in Galileo and get you more available information, quality information, than Google can return for you. The other really big thing about Galileo that I like to tell students, and Mr. Palmer kind of said, you know, what happens after you leave this classroom? Galileo is available at colleges, all of the universities, University of Georgia, University of North Georgia across the street, all the K through 12, all the public libraries. It's the same interface. Once you learn how to use Galileo here at your technical college, you can use it anywhere in the state of Georgia. So if you're going into an industry that's changing, that needs research done, and you can be able to say, you know what, I know how to use this. I can go to the public library and find you information about XYZ. You can. Once you learn how to use it, that's it. All right, there's no risk with the systems. Any questions about that? Okay, thank you for letting me be on my high horse about that. All right, so let's talk about how to search Galileo. First things first, you'll see the Discover search. This is the main search box for Galileo. What it does is it searches across the 100 databases that I'm about to talk about. It's kind of trying to be a simple way to search a lot of different areas. Here's the thing about Discover. It's powerful, it's really great. It uses what's called phrase searching. You cannot type in sentences such as, I am interested in capital punishment and its effect on XYZ. You can't do that. Galileo wants to try to bring back a word that you typed in. So what you do when you type in here is you want to type in just one or two terms. Okay? Does anybody have a question about that? That's very key. Come up with a question when you're about to do your research. Come up with a, you know, pro, con, whatever question, and then pull terms from that question that you're going to use. Okay? So if you hit search, we'll see what we get. Okay. So this is the search results for Discover. This is what you'll notice here up at the top how many articles you actually get. So we have 456,000 roughly articles, which is way too many, but this is a very broad search. This actually gives us a brief overview. Not every topic will have that, but because this one's pretty generic, it does give you a brief overview. Over on the right-hand side, you'll see local news topics, current events that are happening that might involve this. So you can see these are about executions. Related images for presentations, historical images, if anybody's in history classes right now, all of the University of Georgia's digital archives are available through Galileo for free. Videos, etc. And then you can see here we have our results in the middle. The first one up top is an ebook, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. The next you'll notice we have academic journals, more ebooks, academic journals, and we'll talk about what those exactly mean. The number one thing though, before you can continue with your search, is on the left-hand side. Does everyone see limit to? Everyone see that? All right. That's exactly, it sounds exactly like it says. You're going to limit your search. The number one thing that students tell me when they come talk to me is that, Catherine, I can't get full text, okay? Here you go. By clicking full text, that eliminates everything that we don't have online, okay? So now you're able to get the full text of an article, whether it's a PDF or an HTML. The other thing is, it keeps wanting to drop away. You heard Mr. Palmer say about scholarly journals. You can limit to scholarly right there, peer-reviewed. All right. Does anybody know what peer-reviewed stands for? Anybody want to take a wild stab at it? Reviewed by peers. Okay, kind of, yeah. Basically, the way to kind of understand it is that when you read something like the New York Times, that's published every single day. It's published by excellent writers and journalists, but nobody who is an expert in the field is also looking at that article before it goes to public. Scholarly journals tend to, when the author submits an article, two experts in the field, usually two, sometimes more, read the article before it ever gets published and make their edits and their changes and their criticisms, all of that good stuff. That is what a peer-reviewed journal stands for. That's why it's a little things like the New York Times, Times Magazine, Newsweek, all of those. All right, so everybody can understand why we select that. All right, now, for those of you who are in things like industry, the technical trades, you are probably not going to select scholarly peer review. Those trades tend to not have what's called scholarly. They tend to have what's called trade magazines or trade journals. That's what you want to look for. And there's a way to kind of work with that. And I can show you guys that on an individual basis. So, okay? All right. The other big thing is the date limit. You can actually drop...
He was saying we couldn't use journals.
No, you can use journals. You can't use periodicals. You can't use things like Newsweek or Time. Trade journals are a different thing. That's the highest level of research. And you can talk to Mr. Palmer about that. But I would fight about that if it. I think trade journals are appropriate for those industries. But there's a difference between, is anybody auto tech in here or motorsports or there's a difference between car and driver and like Kelly Blue Book. You know what I mean? Like there's a difference. And so industry and trade technically are more trade journals. So. All right, any questions about that? Okay, so I'm gonna also limit the date. So remember, he said you guys want current information. There's no sense in looking at material in whatever. You wanna make sure you got within the last 5 years. So does anybody have questions about limits? No? Okay, so you can see here, we went from 400,000 to 41,000. It's still really, really broad, but at least we're kind of working in that general range. You'll also notice it took away the ebooks. Ebooks, when you select scholarly or peer-reviewed journals, it eliminates ebooks. Those are still valid resources. They're still scholarly. Mr. Palmer will still accept them, but they're not, by Galileo standpoints, a journal or peer-reviewed. Everybody get that? Okay. So let's talk about the actual citation. So I'm going to click on, let's see here, which one do I want to click on? We'll click on the first one. Okay. All right, so let's talk about what you're actually looking here. First things first, you have to tell that bold is where your terms are, capital punishment, capital punishment. Authors, you can sometimes click on authors' names to see what else they've published. Usually they've published more than once. You have your journal, your date, your subject terms. If you all are struggling to find relevant articles, try searching the subject terms. Those are other relevant terms with the article that you're looking at. So for example, maybe I'm doing one about capital punishment, but I haven't looked for punishment and crime deterrence, which is one of the #1 arguments about capital punishment. All right. The other thing that you can see here is the abstract. Does everybody see that? All right. I know some of you are falling asleep. Listen up. This is possibly one of the most important things I say. The abstract cannot be cited in your paper. All right? The abstract is not the full text. It is not a part of the article. It is a brief little summary of what the article is about. It may or may not be written by the author. you'll notice this one at the bottom is an abstract from the publisher, okay, which means whoever published this journal. Students have come to me multiple times telling me, Catherine, this is what I've cited. That's not, Mr. Palmer will not accept that. Most of your other instructors will not accept that. That's not research. That's you reading a quick paragraph and saying, I'm done. The full text is where you go. Over on the left-hand side is where it is. It's either a PDF full text, or sometimes you'll see what's called an HTML full text. But that is what you must cite. That is where you must get your information from. Does anyone have any questions about that? Okay. I promise you one of you will probably come to me about that. All right. One last thing over on the right-hand side. Does everybody see this middle button? It says Cite. Yeah. I promised you I would show you where these citations are located. If you click on Cite and scroll down, it's in alphabetical order. You will find the MLA citation for this article. Real quick, this is the #1 place you want to check for errors. I don't know why, but EBSCO seems to be, this is where they tend to have too much information. So again, it's a guide, it's a guideline. It should not be your final citation. You should definitely look about all the other sources to see if it's correct. Any questions about that? Still quiet. Okay. Over here on the bottom, does anybody save URLs real quick? No? Okay. If you do save URLs, this up top, the one that we typically use up here, this one is called an unstable URL. Galileo constantly has information added to it. If you want to link to this entry, you need to click on the bottom right-hand side, the permalink, and that's this one up here. All right, does everybody see that? Okay. Just for any students who like to save URLs for articles and stuff like that. All right. Any questions about an article? How to get to an article? As you guys develop your research questions, you're going to have more practice trying to figure out what terms are used. I'm going to say this. I love to help students. That's why I'm a librarian. That's why I went to library school. So please come knock on my door. If you're really struggling with this, I'm happy to sit down with you and help you and see what's out there. Okay. So don't think like you're all alone in this. So, all right. Last one that I want to talk about is our ebook collection, like Mr. Palmer mentioned. To get to our ebook collection, you can either search the library catalog, which I've already showed you, that has all of our ebooks, or you can go directly into our ebooks by clicking Databases A through Z beneath the search bar, and clicking on E, alphabetical, and it's the second result. It's ebooks on EBSCOhost, formerly NetLibrary. Okay, how many of you all have used an ebook before? Even just for like fun reading? If anybody does, a couple people, okay. All right, so our ebook collection, we actually just titles. Some of them are really pretty. They are, by and large, easier for students to navigate, I think, than our journals, just like Mr. Palmer was saying. So you can either search for a particular ebook, if you'd like, or a particular topic, or you can browse by category. See here the different categories. We also have a highlighted collection and featured. So if anybody's in allied health, these are our health and medicine titles. All right, so I'm going to search for capital punishment. And you guys can see here that I get 199 ebooks on some level of either the ebook has capital punishment in the title or there is mentioned somewhere in one of the chapters. When you do a search for our ebooks, it either searches the title, but also searches the text. So if you see a title that doesn't necessarily make sense, it's probably because it's mentioned somewhere in the pages. You don't need to click full text, but you probably do want to make sure you update your years there on the limit side. And you can see here we go from 109 to 49, so from the last 5 years. All right, so I'm going to click on the first one here, capital punishment. And it looks pretty much similar to the record for the journal. Again, we have your capital punishment, your title, a little bit of publication information. It also gives you the most relevant pages. So this is capital punishment, which means all of these pages are pretty relevant. But you find a topic, a title that doesn't really make sense, this is where you would probably find your. You also will see, again, on the right-hand side, the Cite button. And this is how you would cite an ebook in MLA style. Okay? Everybody get that? All right. So you can actually click on ebook full text on the left-hand side. I should slow down. But this is what it looks like. And you can either flip through it like a normal book, or you can search within it if you want. So you can search for, so you want to do something with the electric chair. It'll actually show you what pages the electric chair is mentioned. And you can see here, if I click on this, is page 56. I can scroll down, and somewhere in here is where it's talking about an electric wooden chair. You can also look at the different table of contents over on the left-hand side. So you can see arguments for and against the death penalty. You guys are going to do a pro-con. All right. Any questions about this? One last thing, you'll notice at the bottom here on the left, you'll have download this ebook. Does you have a question?
I was just wondering, does ebooks also have the trade journals that you were talking about earlier?
No, ebooks are different from trade journals.
Books.
It's just ebooks, yes, but they count as a scholarly source.
Right. There's not going to be a whole lot of scholarly sources on my particular.
No, there will be books for sure, and there are. I shouldn't have confused you. Sorry. Trade journals are what's considered scholarly for the industry trade, instead of what's called an academic journal. Does that make sense? They're the same thing. They're the same level, but they're real quick. I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, we'll do a search to try to find an industry trade.
I'm just looking for ideas that can help me on this research.
Okay, I'll show you what that might look like. Just to show you. Let me finish the ebooks and we'll do a quick search for that. Okay. But you can use ebooks. Those are within your trade.
So what might they have to help me? Textbooks?
These would be textbooks. These would be other topics. Let's see here. We'll go back.
Mine's pretty specific.
About industry trade or, well,
No,
industrial
about-
system.
I mean, I've just recently got a new job in the industry.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about doing my paper based on what I'm actually going to be doing.
Okay. So what are you going to do?
Motor drive programming and PLC programming. Electric control programming.
Let's see. ProLogic.
Yeah. PLCs,
PLC. There's programmable logic controllers.
That's right.
Okay, so this is from 2004. There's industrial control systems from 2011. And see, now, this is a good example. I typed in PLC or programmable logic controls. Industrial control systems has that mentioned in there, even though it's not in the title. Does that make sense? So you can click on that, and it actually shows you those relevant pages where that's been used. And probably if I search for programmable logic control, that would return even better than the abbreviation. But that's kind of where you would start looking. And then you can see adaptive control systems might be another search term you want to use. Does that kind of help you a little bit? Okay. There's definitely out there, and this is from 2011. There might be even more recent stuff out there. And we have stuff in the library too, like print books. That's an area that I purchase for. So. Okay. Real quick, one more thing about ebooks. Let's see here. I'm going to click on history because I'm just going to show you guys a real quick book. I was talking about the download this ebook. Everybody see that? Okay. You can download these ebooks as they're basically kind of PDF files. Here's the thing about downloading them. It's like checking a book out. So if you download the ebook, you can use it, I believe it's up to 16 days without it disappearing. It can be used on Kindle devices, iPad devices. If you're interested in learning how to do that, I can show you. But you also, when you check it out, no other student can use it. So if you go see a book and you click on it and it says this book is not available, that's probably because another classmate checked it out, okay? So if you can be polite, you can download. I don't want to say you can't, but to be polite, potentially, you might just want to view it online, okay? It depends on your way of learning. If you need to download it, by all means, go ahead. So, any questions about that? Okay.
You said there were gonna be questions on our next coming up
Yep.
test about what you've gone over.
hmm
Anything specific? I've
Basically-
wrote down almost everything you said.
That's-
I'm just wondering,
then you're
is
good.
there anything specific that we should take note?
No, I mean, I've covered pretty much everything. If you have any questions, you can come talk to me. Like, it's not a hard
Call
test.
on the phone, I'm taking a test.
Obviously not that. But you can, I mean, guys, it's not a hard test. I will say that there's a couple other things. The big one I was talking about, you know, what Galileo is, I'll give you that a hint. What Galileo is, remember I said it was a Georgia Library Learning Online, 100 databases. All right, that's a hint.
What did you
So-
say, 100 databases?
It's like 100 databases. It's authoritative.
You gonna find that out?
You can find it, if I return to Galileo here, in the About Galileo, up in the upper right-hand corner. And that's basically almost word for word what I say. And you can see all the different organizations that have that. So, any questions? Okay. I'm going to say again, please don't struggle on this. Please come talk to me. I really, really like helping students. That's why I'm a librarian. If my door is closed, just knock on it. Odds are I'm just listening to music and don't want to disturb others. So, all right. I don't think Mr. Palmer has anything else, but if he does, I don't know. So I might go find it now. All right.
See you later on.
Yeah, come talk to me. Come talk. All right, I'm gonna stop recording.
He's done with us?
I think so. Me.
I'm damn good, it takes a lot of practice, but yeah.
The other thing is, I should have talked